This is Hannibal here from thehannibaltv.com with the weekly UFO Report podcast. I am joined by none other than the UFO Tarheel himself, Casey from Ric Flair's hometown of Charlotte, North Carolina, and he's back working out after having melanoma surgery. Ric Flair, not Casey. Thank God Casey doesn't have cancer, but that's some good news about Flair before we jump in to the UFO news of the week here. How are you doing today, sir?
Yeah, I saw that too. I saw Ric Flair on an elliptical or something, right? Is that the video you saw? Maybe you saw the same video I did.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, so it's good to see him back, doing something, right? Being physically active. I'll take it. The ageless wonder, Ric Flair.
Exactly. He's a wonder more than anything for the amount of alcohol he's been able to consume over his life and still be alive at 76, because he's self-admitted to like 12 drinks in a day would be a low day for him.
Yeah.
And he rarely slept too. So I don't know how much of that is myth, but he was able to function pretty much drinking all day. And I guess in his theory, he wrestled every night, so he sweated it out. But he's maybe he is a hybrid. That might actually explain a thing or two, right?
Yeah, because he was always, on level 10. Especially when he was doing a work, right? He was always on level 10. So that would explain it.
And there's a lot of UFO news this week, but I just wanted to point out that I do have a video coming about my recent visit to Longhorn Steakhouse that I went to after seeing that Casey had been there. And I did enjoy it overall. So please give us some gift certificates and we'll give you plugs, Longhorn, if anyone's watching.
Yeah, you got to give it to Longhorn. I was normally an Outback guy, right? But I think Outback was on in my early days. I don't know. When I could just eat what I wanted and I wasn't really putting on much weight. Now that I'm watching what I eat, it seems like Longhorn's got more stuff. I don't know. I go in there and get like a Parmesan crusted chicken, and I can be good with my eating routine and stuff, but it's a little harder at Longhorn. At Outback. I don't know. Maybe that's just my assessment later on in life. Now that I'm into my 40s, I don't know. But
Chad, my favorite thing at Outback is the lamb rack. And we are doing well, betrayed by sin. We're doing great. I just had 2 great workouts today. Getting ready for my big movie coming up next month where we're filming it. It'll be out by Halloween. It's a vampire / wrestling fiction movie. So I'm looking forward to that.
If you're shooting anything down my way, I'll be an extra for you, Hannibal, if you need somebody like standing.
Good to know. Always appreciate that, but I don't want to piss off the UFO people too much, so I got some specific things I want to address later in the podcast, but there's been a lot going on this week, as always. I don't know how much of it is substance, but a lot's being thrown out, and we can get into Greer later, but I did notice... Well, let's jump into Greer right now. I did notice he was always fully saying that these things are not here to harm us. They're only good. Anyone that says they could ever harm us is some type of disinformation agent. But he seemed to be changing his tune a bit this week. I don't know, to win more people over, or maybe he's legitimately changing his tune. He thinks that we might be agitating them. Did you hear anything about this?
Yeah, I've seen that where I think you're talking about the quote where he says they're about fed up with us and they're getting ready to, they're tired of us psionically zapping in on them, and they're tired of us bringing their craft down, and they're tired of us, fucking around with them, right? And they're ready to start showing themselves. And, I've heard him say that. I think the biggest thing that I saw released was this week was him talking about, he released a video. We did put it up on the Hannibal TV UFO channel. For those that don't know, make sure you're over there subscribing as well. There's a Hannibal TV and there's a Hannibal TV UFO channel. I put a short up there because, I mean, I didn't know that people were calling him a Russian agent. So apparently he says that people are calling him a Russian agent. I did hear the Mossad agent part. So for those of you that don't know, Israel's version of CIA is Mossad. And, apparently there was I'm trying to think of the guy's channel where I'd heard this because I think he was on Danny Jones' podcast, Museum of Tarot. Tarot, I don't know how you pronounce it. Tarot, like tarot cards is the way it looks to me.
Some people even say tarot, but I think it is tarot.
Yeah, Museum of Tarot guy was on with Danny Jones, and he connects all these things, and he tries to say pretty much that Dr. Stephen Greer had something to do with Mossad because apparently he got married over there in Israel. And I don't know. Look, the Museum of Tarot guy is interesting. He brings a lot of interesting thought to the conversation, but he brings up this about being a Russian agent, so we can actually show the fans that really quick. It's just part of the video that we showed that week. If you want to, let's share it. Okay. Do you see Stephen Greer on the screen? Give me a.
I do, yeah.
All right, so let's
make sure the volume is on that thing.
Yeah, got it.
There are people, and I think there are some unwitting people involved with this, who are providing false information or saying that I'm a Russian agent, like David Grusch. I think guys like him get pulled in to this cabal of ne'er-do-wells, and then the next thing you know, they're in a world of trouble.
Yeah, so...
Right, which I doubt he is I don't believe that Greer for 1 second is a Russian agent.
Yeah, I mean, that's a stretch, but he's saying Grusch is calling him that. So for those of you that don't know, a couple weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, there was video out. We covered it here on Hannibal TV. You got to stay connected with us because we're covering it all. But he covers this Boogosphere thing down in South America. Jaime Maussan puts on a big press event. He's just as good as Grusch in South America, Jaime Maussan, at putting on these press events and getting a big show out of everything, right? And apparently the Tridactyls, some of that stuff was shown off as well. Well, Representative Burleson was down there during that. So Greer, in this video that he released this week on his channel, he's talking up this documentary that he's releasing called Asymmetric Disclosure. Look, I can't help but laugh when I hear that because I've heard of so many different kinds of disclosure, right? There's catastrophic disclosure. That was released about a year ago. This term called catastrophic disclosure.
Everyone was using it, and it actually got to the point where everyone got sick of hearing it, I think.
Yeah. And again, for those following along, catastrophic disclosure is, you're right, Brian. But catastrophic disclosure is, just pretty much the Super Bowl and an alien ship just plants itself right over top of the Super Bowl, right? And that's catastrophic because, right, there's no way to control that. If an alien spaceship were to just show up over the World Series and it's on national news, or something like that, there's no way to refute that. That would be catastrophic, right? There's no way to contain that, to control that. Well, this asymmetric disclosure, it's hilarious. He's done it he's done it if you go and Google asymmetric disclosure, he makes it look Marvel. So he's using like Marvel, like what you would see out of like, the Avengers or something like that. It looks like something from the Avengers or from something Marvel related. So he's really put in the work on this one. But anyways, in that video he released on his channel this week, he said that he was with a congressperson a couple years ago.
So this is his IMDb page for.
Yes, there it is. See, look, it looks like something that is getting ready to be released by Marvel.
Yeah, that reminds me of Brian's comment again. He's making himself. We were talking about this last week with Charles Hall. Some of the and Lou even does it. Lou Elizondo, they make themselves out to be like these superheroes in the world of
And is that
UAP.
supposed to be Greer up there, up top?
Yes, yeah, yes, it is.
You know, I mean, it's just like it's a little overdone, man. I mean, you know, I mean, it's one thing. And look, y'all are talking to someone here that I got into ufology and covering this probably because of Stephen Greer. So I'm not going to knock the guy. We're talking 25 years ago. He headlines a press club event like in 2000, 2001. And then after that, Stephen Greer starts putting out some pretty cool documentaries. So I'm not going to knock the guy. I mean, the guy has put out some cool stuff, but you can't help it when he puts out this thing that looks like the Avengers, and it's called asymmetric disclosure. And don't even ask me what asymmetric disclosure is. I don't even know what the hell that means. I'm one of the most learned people I know on UFO, aliens, the topic of UAP, and I don't know. So don't ask me. I did horribly bad at geometry when I was in high school, so I can't tell you what asymmetric even means. But anyways, I know what symmetrical means. But anyways, so I'm guessing it's the opposite. He goes in to say though that a couple weeks ago he was hanging out with a congressperson. Now he never says Burleson. He just says I'm hanging out with somebody from Congress a couple weeks ago. Well, a couple weeks ago, he was in South America at the Bugosphere event, sitting right beside Burleson. So let's just assume it's Burleson. And he says that a comment was made that they couldn't talk to him.
Sorry to interrupt, but asymmetric, having parts that fail to correspond to another in shape, size, or arrangement,
lacking symmetry.
So that is what the disclosure we're getting now. Nothing really corresponds.
Yeah. But he says that he's hanging out with somebody in Congress, and Congress, this congressperson says, oh, well, we can't talk to him because we're hearing he's a Russian agent. So we can, and then in this video we just played, you know, in this video, he says it's David Grusch that's saying that. So for those that don't remember, David Grusch was brought in by Burleson to his cabinet to work on the Hill in regards to this UAP UFO stuff. So it had to have been Burleson that he was talking about. Grusch apparently has been calling him a Russian agent to Burleson. Burleson must have joked while he was around Greer and said, hey, you know, we can't talk to you because we're hearing you're a Russian agent. So that's just connecting the dots for the fans.
If anyone would know about that, it would be Gene. Like, have you heard anything, Gene, about this whole Russian? Because UFO Tarheel did an interview with him the other week about reverse engineering over in Russia with a Russian scientist, right?
Yeah, and Gene's trying to help us out with the definition there. And yes, Gene would know. So thank you, Gene, for chiming in and helping us out with that. So, yeah, so I guess in parallel, Gene, right? In parallel, there's other forces at play. So, you know, that is, I mean, I've not heard that. I've heard, again, the Mossad agent thing. But who knows? I don't know. The most interesting thing, again, that we call out in that video that we dropped this week of talking about this, the Greer versus Grusch, is that he's trying to tie it in and say it's a federal offense. Like calling Grusch a Russian agent is somehow a federal offense. Now, let me explain to people how he must be tying this in. I think what he's trying to say is he is a conduit between whistleblowers and Congress. Okay? So you have Greer over here, and he's bringing the whistleblowers to Congress. And if you start thwarting that by calling him a Russian agent, he's trying to say somehow that now you are breaking federal law because you're trying to take him out of the equation by bad-mouthing him, and that apparently is obstructing justice. That's what I took from it. if you want to go look it up yourself, everyone go watch it. I don't even know how long it is, an hour and a half, 2 hours long. I didn't watch the whole thing. I did try to hang in there for most of it, but he's trying to say that people are obstructing justice by calling him a Mossad or calling him a Russian agent. I don't know how that happens. If Hannibal, if you came on right here right now and said, Casey, I think you're a Russian agent, you're a Mossad agent, you're a CIA agent, you're not going to be breaking any federal laws. I mean, so
right, that's just opinion.
Yeah, I mean, so I think he's trying to say because he is bringing people to Congress that are whistleblowers, that's somehow obstructing that path to Congress, which is him. So I don't know. He does have a bit of a God, character that he sees of himself, right? He has this vision of himself as a, much higher being than others. So it may just be him overplaying his hand a little bit, or trying to scare people. I took it as that, like maybe he's trying to scare you because he tried to say there at the end that David Grusch is getting himself in a world of trouble. So that's probably him just trying to, overplay the hand a little bit and scare people when they want to talk bad about him. So
I haven't seen much of Grusch for a while, and I don't know if that just has to do with his lawsuit that he's doing. He's keeping quiet until that's over, or what.
I've heard the lawsuit, and then maybe it was part of the agreement bringing him into Congress, right? Bring him in to Burleson's office. As Burleson was probably like, look, I know you're getting ready to write this op-ed, because he was, but we're not going to do that right now. If you're going to come and help us on the Hill, you got to STFU for a while. Just work behind the scenes with us. You're not going to be a front guy anymore. You're not going to be doing 1,000 podcasts. You're not going to be on Jesse Michaels and Corbell and doing your rounds on News Nation and everything else. You're going to have to STFU and chill out and work behind the scenes with us. That's the way I took it. But yeah, I did hear about that, where he was working some kind of case about them releasing his personal information and things like that, and he was working on that as well. So, but yeah, I've not heard much from him. But I've lost your audio, Hannibal.
Yeah, because apparently for Grusch in March of 2025, he was named special advisor to Representative Burleson, but he hasn't really made any appearances in 2025.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and we have someone saying hello from Ireland. I don't think we've had an Ireland yet. That's pretty cool. No. And they have a UFO background there. That's awesome. Hello from Ireland. I would love to visit there. Have you ever been there, Ireland?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah, I wrestled there once.
Man, I have not been able to go anywhere other than like Mexico or somewhere right around me here, so that would be nice.
Well, I've never been to Mexico, so maybe one day. Although I'm very afraid of all the cartels and all the underhanded stuff that goes on.
You got to go to the safe places. Go to the safe places. I went to Cozumel. Cozumel's safe. As long as you stay right there around the cruise port, you're good to go.
There you go. So the one thing that I've seen in the news today is for Canada, and it's been in the week. I guess they've been delaying a UFO report that was supposed to kind of be made public, and it's come out that only 10% of Canadians care about UAPs and are willing to have the government put more funding into UAPs. And that what's interesting about that is because a few weeks ago you were telling me that you didn't think the U.S. government did enough for the UAP movement here, but in Canada, I mean, I'm not surprised at all that only 10% of people think they should put more money into UAPs, because it's like going back 25 years in time there. People just don't believe it for the most part, and you have to try and go back and explain to them the history from 2017 on of what's been going on here to try and get them on board. But overall, they're not interested. But the interesting thing there is it appears that they might be working behind the scenes with the U.S. a little bit investigating things, but as far as publicly talking about it, that's not happening really right now with the government, and it doesn't appear it's going to happen anytime soon unless there's some type of catastrophic disclosure, because the people just aren't that interested.
Yeah. And I mean, and the reason I say that about the U.S. government is because of how small the caucus is. Do you know how many people are in the caucus, the UAP caucus? In
13, I'll guess.
I think it's like 4 or 5. So you got
Okay.
Paulina Luna, you got Burleson, you got Burchett, and then I think you can throw a couple more in there, and I'm forgetting their names, but I think it's like 4 or 5.
There's the Florida senator, governor. What the hell is his name?
Now in the Senate, I mean, really the only people speaking up is Mike Rounds and then Chuck Schumer. And, you know, Mike Rounds just was on with Coltart, and, you know, he's saying that they're going to reintroduce the legislation that they brought up a couple years ago. And remember, the UAP disclosure, well, I don't know if I call it disclosure, but the legislation that they were going to introduce to the National Defense Spending Bill would have been having a panel of people who would look at UAP material and then decide to disclose it or not. It would have eminent domain. You know, if we hear that, remember there was a craft that was supposed to be transferred from Lockheed Martin to OSAP when the OSAP program was running. You know, if we have eminent domain and that's part of legislature, we can say, hey, Lockheed, you got to show it to us. Give it to us right now. You know, it's ours. And all that got chopped off of it, right? So they didn't really do much from it. And Mike Rounds is saying they're going to introduce it again this year. So I do think that's good. I'll at least give them credit that they're trying to do something, that some of them do step forward. But when I talk about the government is not doing enough, I just mean it's just in strictly percentages. Because when you see how small the UAP caucus is, and usually a caucus isn't massive, so a caucus is never like 50% or more, like some majority. But still, when you see the percentage of how many people we have in Congress, both in the House and the Senate, and then how many people actually will champion this cause, and look, and it's not always the right people championing the cause. Look, you know, there's certain people that are talking about it where I just don't think they're the right people. And I know like Anna Paulina Luna, you know, and I know Hannibal, you joked one time, you said she's easy on the eyes, right? I mean, at least she's pretty and she's nice to look at, that kind of thing. Okay. But when it gets into the content, it's just she's not there. You know, it's just she cannot hang with the...
Speak of the devil, there she is.
That's Nancy Mace.
Oh, sorry, Nancy Mace. Two of the gorgeous.
But I think the same thing about Nancy Mace.
Yeah.
Nancy Mace cannot hang here. Don't try to hang with us here. You can't hang. Okay. She had her drama with Jeremy Corbell at the hearing last year, where apparently they were bringing up the stuff about Immaculate Constellation, and she wouldn't say Jeremy's name, and she said it came from Schellenberger, which actually came from Corbell, and that pissed Corbell off. It was a big shit show. But at least Burchett can hang a little bit, you know, and at least Burleson can hang a little bit. Like, you can actually talk to them about it and they can hang with you. Paulina Luna, Nancy Mace, I mean, it's just, some of these people, it's just like a joke. It's like they don't need to be inside the caucus.
Paulina Luna looked like she was almost asleep in one of the recent UAP
She don't
meetings,
know what the hell's going on with this stuff. Yeah.
I mean, I have nothing against her though, but
I have nothing against her personally.
Caucus, it's saying there's 6 here, so maybe it updated. These are the 6.
Yeah, no, and that sounds right. That sounds right. I knew I was missing a couple names.
And there's the honorable mentions. There's a whole bunch of honorable mentions. So, I mean, they put Marco Rubio. That's the one I thought may have been in the caucus. That's the Florida guy I thought was in it. But he's honorable mention, surprisingly.
An honorable An honorable mention is going to be one of these guys who has said something that's documentary, or like if they're going to be in some kind of film worthy. I know that Age of Disclosure is going to have Marco Rubio in it, right? So I think that's why they get honorable mentions, is because they probably said something once upon a time that is favorable to the cause, right? So they get an honorable mention. But anyways, I just don't look to Congress for this kind of thing. And the reason why is, I just don't think they handle normal matters very well. So something as intricate as UFO disclosure or UAP disclosure, it almost seems like it would have to come from another group. That's why some of us get excited when we hear the FBI may be taking over. And okay, we're going to get rid of Arrow and we're going to start going through the FBI. And some people get excited with that is because they might actually have some teeth when they bite. So it's one thing to be biting people all the time and you don't have any teeth and you're just gumming their ass. But when you're sitting around and you got some teeth as well, that gets a little different. When the FBI starts knocking on your door, that gets a little different. So we're starting to hear these stories like Hastings, who wrote the book about nukes in the armed forces, and he's saying that the FBI is reaching out to him and asking him questions about his book. That's serious news. Like, why would the FBI be interested all of a sudden in what Hastings wrote in his book about nukes and UFO encounters and things like that? So, and he's asking questions about Knapp and what Knapp brought back from the Soviet Union, the documents that he brought back related to UFOs. Why is the FBI sniffing around this stuff? That is more interesting to me than Congress, because Congress is just woefully slow, and they're usually, unfortunately, sometimes when they're doing these hearings, it's a lot of showboat, right? They like to showboat and they like to have their few minutes of fame. I think one of the hearings they had, a year or two ago, they said it was the most buzzed hearing out there. It's like they said we've never had a hearing with this much press, this much people buzzing in and out of the hearing in the chamber halls. Like
the Grusch one, right? Literally 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was a couple years ago, and they just said, and everybody started walking in. Everybody started walking in that hearing. Even people just ad hoc started walking in that hearing. I remember Matt Gaetz was one of them. And Matt Gaetz wanted to come in and tell his story about when he heard about the UFO encounter, I believe in the Gulf, where they saw maybe a triangular formation of UFOs in the Gulf, and he was told about it. And all of a sudden and AOC was there, and all these people were, and it was just had all this like buzz about it. And and I think they picked up on the fact that there was a lot of cameras. It had a lot of interest. And that's my thing. I think they get caught up in the entertainment of it, and they know they can get a few minutes of camera, but it eventually fades off, and then what happens, right? And some people start fading to the back on it. So part of that UAP caucus, Paulina Luna has started fading to the back. Nancy Mace has started fading to the back. Burchett, I was going to say he was starting to fade to the back and let Burleson kind of take over the number one of the UAP caucus, because Burleson showed up at all these different events. But then Burchett pops up this week. I don't know if fans saw it, but he was on Coltart. Coltart apparently tried to have some biblical religious debate or chat with...
he's done that before.
Yeah, he tried to do it with this one guy.
I'm not into those.
Yeah, well... I mean, I didn't really understand it, because every time you went to Burchett to talk, Burchett didn't know anything. Like, he was like, we're going to talk about Ezekiel seeing a wheel in the sky. And Burchett's like, yeah, man, I saw that thing. And I think he saw a UFO. That's what I think he saw. But I don't know. I don't really, and that's just every response comes. And look, I'm in North Carolina, so that's the kind of responses we give, right? So, and he's in Burchett's in Knoxville, and I have family in Knoxville. So people have to understand I'm steeped in the South. So Burchett is like half my neighbors that I live with right now. So I know what's going on there. But it's so funny. It just seemed like he was out of his depth. Almost every answer that Burchett gave about the religion was just, I don't know, man. I don't know. I ain't really researched it and everything else. I mean, again, fans, y'all go watch it. It was just released a day or two ago. And again, Burchett is usually extremely interesting to watch. Hannibal had him on here, interviewed him. It's a great interview. Not knocking Burchett. I'm just giving you my review of it. It just
He's
seemed
my
like,
favorite politician. And yeah, I think it's just he could be losing interest at this
he
point
could
too,
be
like
losing
all
interest.
of us.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, because
That's all I'm trying to say.
And I think a lot of the public is also losing interest. And he just might be, well, this isn't enough of public interesting for me to stay as up to date as I was. So I'm not going to like really put a lot of effort into preparing for this interview, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, because I thought they were going to get in depth. Anytime somebody says they're getting ready to get into a biblical debate about UFOs and aliens, oh man, I'm like locked in. I'm interested. I'm, sitting down. I got my coffee ready. I want to listen. And I didn't really get much out of it, to be honest. Maybe just Coulthard isn't the one. Look, Coulthard is saying he's a non-believer, which is fine. He doesn't really. I think he's saying he didn't believe in the Bible, or he's not like Burchett says that he's a born again Christian. Like he just comes out and says it, and I think Coulthard says, "Well, I'm not quite there," but he's like picking and choosing parts of the Bible that he wants to believe in because it's UFO worthy, and I'm just like, well, that's kind of weird too. It's like. I'm kind of with Coulthard. I'm on more of a religious journey myself. I'm not saying there isn't a God, but I'm trying to find out which God is it. I'm not smart enough to be an atheist. That's what I tell people because I don't have enough information to say that there's not a God, right? But at the same time, I'm not going to just grab the Bible and start grabbing random parts of it and saying, well, I believe this part where this guy said he saw something that looked like a UFO, but I don't believe 98% of the rest of it. It's like, well, you're just picking parts out of it that seems interesting to you. So that's the way I took it from Coulthard. It seemed like he was just like picking parts of the Bible. It's like he went to ChatGPT and said, hey, ChatGPT, tell me parts of the Bible that may reference a UFO. And he like grabs those parts out and he thinks they're super interesting. So, but he doesn't want to believe anything in the Bible. So I don't know. It's just kind of weird. Listening to those, I would rather listen to someone get in depth and actually, try to talk through it. But anyways, yeah, that was one of the interesting things. We also put up something. Did you see the thing about that we put up about Jake Barber?
No, I have not. What was that about?
Yeah, so that was interesting too because a lot of people. I put up a Twitter post that was talking about looking at Coulthard and looking at Greer. So Coulthard came out and made a statement about the Tic Tac, right? And he came out in his video, I think it was last Friday or something, and he said that the Tic Tac was Lockheed Martin. Okay, the first person to ever say that, and if Gene is still on, Gene has written some great stuff about this. If people want to go look at Gene's stuff, and maybe Gene can link it in here. But there was some really interesting stuff that Gene even talks about with that. I was going to try to find one of his articles. But anyways, so the first person out of the gate that said the Tic Tac was ours was Greer. Okay? Let's just call it like it is. Greer was the very first person that when he heard about the Tic Tac, he said, oh, that's ours. It's Lockheed Martin. Okay. So then we hear Burleson again. Here's Burleson again. Representative Burleson says that he knows someone who's come to him and said, hey, not only is it ours, I can show you the different iterations of it. I can show you Gen 1, Gen 2, Generation 3, Gen 4 of the Tic Tac as we have been developing that technology. So that's one-upping it there. When you cannot just say it's ours, but hey, we're on Gen 4 of the Tic Tac, that's pretty crazy. And And then now we have Coulthard. But for people that want to watch that Need to Know, it's in a Need to Know podcast. I think it's the most recent Need to Know podcast. This is not going to be in one of Coulthard's reality checks or his back scrolls or any of his News Nation stuff. It's on Need to Know. But what's interesting is he says a lot of stuff that Greer says. And so that's a video I'm talking about. And we can show a video of it here in a second where I tie in Jake Barber to that, Hannibal, because they're talking the same lingo. They almost sound like the same person. Coulthard is saying stuff like CONUS and OCONUS. Have you heard that before? That acronym?
No, I have not. Want to share what it is?
So CONUS is just continental U.S. and OCONUS is outside the continental U.S. But the first time I heard that was through Greer. Now Coulthard is starting to say it. Greer for months had been talking about scalar weapons. All right. Now Coulthard is talking about scalar weapons. Greer was talking for a very long time about the Tic Tac being Lockheed. Now Coulthard is talking about the Tic Tac being Lockheed. So you can't help but look at these two sides and try to figure out, well, how do these guys connect? Okay, I got one guy over here now starting to use the same lingo as this guy. How do they connect? Jake Barber. The only person that connects these two is Jake Barber. Jake Barber is complimentary of Greer when he came out about his egg retrieval thing. He was complimentary of Greer to Coulthard, or complimentary of Greer to Coulthard. And so it seems like now they're starting to say the same thing. And the reason why I call that out, fans, you got to remember, and a lot of people don't remember this, Jake Barber is admittedly, he's been a shadow kind of mysterious character before in his past. And that's why I wanted to share this piece. Let me pull it up from my Google Drive here.
There are people, and I think
not that one, sorry. Let me do the one here with Barber.
In 2023, I believe, there was a whistleblower conference shortly after the Whistleblower Protection Act got activated. And then there was this at the National Press Club hosted by Stephen Greer. There were several whistleblowers that had decided to come forward in that environment and share their stories. So we were actually sent there on behalf of our employer to look for whistleblowers that we were trying to basically report to the FBI and get arrested. Because at that time I was in this weird place between becoming a whistleblower or rounding up the whistleblowers and shutting them up, because there were good reasons and bad reasons to be a whistleblower. And so
you were at this press event red teaming, basically.
Exactly. Yeah.
You were trying to maybe.
Yeah, so that's just to jog everybody's memory. Jake Barber's not always been a good guy, and that's not according to me. That's according to Jake Barber. I mean, he was at the press club event where Michael Herrera, Eric Hecker, DC Long came out at the press club event, and he was intercepting whistleblowers to be arrested by the FBI. Jake Barber was. So Jake Barber is not, and he said right there he was in a weird place. Jake Barber's not always been a good guy. So look, as of today, he may be a great guy. And I actually like Jake, and I like his story, and I think he's a meaningful person. But you just have to think, what could be... Everybody's asking the question now, is Coulthard being flipped? Is he being manipulated by somebody from the inside? Everyone already thinks that of Greer. Everyone already thinks Dr. Greer, someone has got to him from the inside and they're feeding him BS. And that's why Greer sounds the way he sounds. And now Coulthard is starting to say a lot of Greer shit. So everybody's like, is Coulthard been flipped? Is he been flipped from the inside? You just have to call that out. Just pay attention. Barber is connected between both of them. And now all of a sudden Coulthard's starting to say some crazy stuff. So again, is Barber still running? Yeah, Chad. See, and that's where a lot of fans don't they don't realize what Jake Barber said. A lot of people look at Jake Barber and they go, "Oh, he did the egg retrieval. He's the egg retrieval helicopter guy." Yeah, he absolutely is. Listen to what he said though. He used to be in a dark, dark place. And he used to go to these things to round up whistleblowers and arrest them and report them to the FBI. And this is one of those scenarios when I tell fans that, they usually attack me and they go, "Well, he's never done that." And then I have to send them the video of Jake actually saying he did that. And then they go, "Oh shit, I just looked right over that." I'm just saying he's not always been in a good place. And when you have someone that's potentially not always been on the side of the good, you just have to call that out. So I don't want to go, I'm coming off my soapbox, but I just thought that was really interesting, Hannibal. Hopefully the fans learned something from that because a lot of people overlook that. So
very interesting. Yeah, you definitely do your research.
Well, it's just, I just remember some one-liners every now and then. And that was a one-liner that when he said he was rounding up whistleblowers to report to the FBI, that stuck with me since when that story came out in January. I was like, wow, wait a second. I think that's the bigger story. Almost as big as the egg retrieval is that Jake would sit down, and it's almost like these guys give you a little nugget, right? They give you a little nugget just to show you what they potentially could be and what they're doing. So yeah, and what's Jock saying? Scalar weapons are probably real, and a large part of why we don't. Yeah, I mean, absolutely, absolutely, they could be. Were there any other good comments, Hannibal? We're getting a lot of good comments tonight. I don't know. Did I miss anything?
What's the whole arresting? Did you know any more about this whole arresting whistleblowers program, or is that the first you heard about it?
That is honestly, I'll try to research that some more. That's the first I've heard someone come forward and say, "Hey, I'm here. Here's my name." And I used to try to round up whistleblowers and get them arrested by the FBI. Jake Barber's, I'm not aware of anyone else. He's the only one that I know of that's come forward to do that or say that he was doing that. So that's why I said that's the bigger story. The egg, I mean, unless you're going to really dive deep on the egg, and when I say dive deep on the damn egg, you know, you got Tim Phillips, the former deputy director at Arrow, saying that we drop spheres and eggs as devices that calibrate our technology on board these aircraft. So he thinks that's what the spheres and the eggs could be. It's something that we drop, and we drop it on the ground so that we can calibrate our radar devices. So let's not even worry about the egg. This guy comes out and says that he says he was working. Now, one thing, Hannibal, Jake says he was working for his employer then. So I will say that. I don't know. That doesn't sound like he's admitting that's government. I'm guessing he was working for a private contractor, probably like a Lockheed or a Raytheon or someone like that. And, you know, all they have to do is show up, get some information, and if they can tell that the person is going to break some type of NDA or some type of oath that they have to their TSSCI, which would be their top secret security clearance, then they report them to the FBI. So that's what it sounds like to me. My guess is Jake was working for a private contractor that had some vested interest in this space, right? In reverse engineering, alien tech. And if he got into intervening there between the whistleblower coming out and could find that the whistleblower was getting ready to spill the beans on some things that were government secret, and where they could be held legally bound to those things, that he would then run an FBI operation to apprehend them. And that's exactly what Jake's talking about. So, but yeah, that's about all I know about it. Yeah.
And I just wanted to put something out there because in the UFO world, there's this very shady company called 444 Productions, run by this guy, Phil Paul Call. They produced several documentaries that I was in for Sci-Fi Central, and they aired in syndication in many places. And I'll just show you guys here. There's also on their YouTube channel. There's one of them. I was supposed to get $400 per episode for doing these, and they never paid me. So I just want to let people know that this guy is a liar. I did these episodes over 2 years ago now. Here's the other one. So you can clearly see they're making, this one has almost 800,000 on the internet alone. And like here it was around June of 2023. I actually did these. Didn't get paid. Then he messages me on June 24th of this year saying that he's going to pay me. So I'd pretty much forgotten about it and gotten over it. And this piece of shit messages me again 2 years later. Again, this was like June 24th. Gets me to send him some more documentation, says I'm going to get paid, and I didn't get paid. We're now what, July 12th? So like, don't trust him. If anyone from 444 Productions tries to call you, if you're in the UFO world, and it has anything to do with Sci-Fi Central, I mean, don't trust them. That's just a warning from me to you guys.
Well, Gene is still on. So Gene, and if anybody else is still on where you're promoting some stuff, look out for 444.
But what kind of asshole, like 2 years later, oh, I'm gonna pay you, and I completely forgot about it. It was like, okay, I'm gonna get $800. Come, you get all excited. Well, nothing happened. So I think that whatever the form he took for me to fill out, he likely used that to collect more money from whatever production company, and then just kept it. Total scumbag. Yeah, get paid first. There's something. I mean, when someone's putting it on a syndicated television show and they're getting like 800,000 hits on YouTube, they're making money off of it.
Yeah.
So anyways,
yeah,
I just wanted to point that out as a warning for people.
Yeah, Chad's got an interesting story too. Chad's down in the comments, so Chad, don't talk to 444. And shout out to Chad. So Chad will working with him. He's got an interesting MUFON story. We should have some time coming up this week to record on that. MUFON Iowa, and even some of our MUFON friends in Massachusetts has even looked at that. Very interesting stuff. So
by the way, Chad, this was not to get stories from me. They actually had scripts that they wanted me to read. So this was more of an acting job than like just a regular interview. So, I mean, clearly this is about passion, but this was like more of an acting gig. Although they did use other people that are known in the UFO world in it, but I said they're scripted lines. It's not like I was just saying it off the cuff. And if anyone watches it, you can tell that they're my scripted lines.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we definitely know we got some people on here that have a lot of experience. So yeah, I think it's good to call out some of these places because
you'd expect it in wrestling, but not necessarily UAPs for that to happen. Shady producers and shady promoters.
Right. Well, that's what you like about me, right? I'm not selling anything. I'll never try to sell you anything. I'm not looking for any money. Hey, do you have a second to show the fans? I shared with you an X post. Can you pull that up? I had messaged it to you. It was the image of what got released in FOIA by Right Pat. If not, I can try.
What platform did you share it with me
X, on Twitter, on X.
Oh, I see it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's super interesting because according to Black Vault, they got that released through FOIA, John Greenwald. And they got that released because it was part of that whole drone thing. And look, that's what got me connected so much with Hannibal. Hannibal was on the drone story, man. I mean, like, if you were looking for content last year about drones, Hannibal was all over it. Like, he was doing 2-3 videos a day. Um,
I was
so
right on. I think I gave the most thorough reporting and the most
you did.
like unbiased reporting. And it's too bad that nothing really came of that story. We thought there was going to be a more credible end to it, but it was just kind of swept under the rug. But here we go. This is what you're talking about.
Has anybody seen an airplane that looks like that? I mean,
It's curved, right? You know what it reminds me of in a way.
I've never seen an airplane that looked like that. And look, just to call this out again, we sat here and talked about how we debunked potentially the Massachusetts UFO with Flight Radar 24 app. I am Mr. Flight Radar 24 app. Anytime I see a UFO video claim, UAP claim, and I get location, time, date, oh man, I am on Flight Radar 24 doing the playback and trying to prove it wrong. Well, not trying to prove it wrong, but trying to prove if it was just something, normal air traffic. I sit here near Charlotte, that's a busy airport. They're constantly flying over my house. The airplanes are all the time. Okay. I have never sat and watched a plane come overhead that looked like that. And Mick West is out on X saying that was just a plane and he can prove it. Okay. But I have never seen a plane with that kind of lighting that we just looked at. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then almost the whole body's illuminated. I've never seen an airplane like that. Okay. So Gene's still on. Gene, have you ever seen an airplane that looked like that? I mean, like, help me out here. You were in the Air Force. I've just never. Now, I get it. In the back there, that looks like a tail wing somewhat there on the left. I get it. But I watch planes all the time. I can tell you the difference in a 737 between, a 737, 821, and an 823. That's how geeky I am about plane spotting. I mean, I just have never seen a plane lit up with that kind of light pattern. And Gene says he's not seen one either. So, I mean, look, Mick West and people like that, you want to go out and debunk everything, have at it. Knock your balls off. But every now and then you see one where you're just like, man, that ain't no damn plane. I don't know what that is, but I've never seen lighting on an airplane like that. So thus, why you were covering it, Hannibal, in the first place is because we were seeing some stuff in the sky that just people aren't used to. I mean, me and my wife, we sit back here on my balcony. I smoke a cigar. I have my bourbon. And we just watch them come in all night. And they're at 3,000 feet. And they're landing in Charlotte. And it's all size of stuff. It's 777s, 737s. It's not just the Boeing stuff. It's the Airbus stuff. It's the 321s. It's the 319s.
Some of them looked like bomb sniffing drones as well too. That were seen around those times, like the Reaper bomb sniffing drones. Like there was some drones that legitimately looked like that.
Yeah, I mean, so we're used to it, right? I mean, humans were not that dumb. I mean, we get a creature of habit. We're so used to seeing those airplanes fly overhead. And then all of a sudden you see a plane that looks like this and you're like, well, what the hell is that? That's not an airplane. And I even took some videos last night as they were on approach just to try to see if I could get anything that would look like this. You have a red and a green. I think those is what they call the FAA lights. It's like your left, right, red, green lights that I would have to put on a boat. If I'm on a boat in the middle of the night, you have a red, green light on the front. That's all you have. And then they have at the very front of the airplane on the nose, what you would liken to a headlight almost. And then sometimes some of the airplanes, I don't know if this is required or not, but like American Airlines, they'll light up the tail wing where you can see the American flag on the tail wing. But that's about it. Nothing like this. So, I mean, hold up. Sorry.
And not to
Lost
mention,
audio.
they actually banned drone flying in the New Jersey area in certain hot spots where those drone sightings were occurring for like a month. So
Yeah.
if it was nothing, why did they go to that extent?
Yeah, and that's why I say it's just it's just odd when you see something like that, you know. So look, and y'all all know it. I'm the first guy to jump on any kind of radar app that I can to prove something, and and I'll do it all day long, because I want to see the good stuff. But I just wanted fans to see that one. I didn't know if fans had seen that, because apparently there was some FOIA released, that Black Vault, with John Greenwald. He was able to get some videos, and get them released, and get some information about some of those things. But man, and apparently that one was one of the Right Pat ones, and I believe Right Pat, was that not one of the areas that got shut down?
Yeah, they
That
closed it for 48 hours or something like that.
Yeah, they had to close the airspace. And then when you read the video, when you read the additional context to that sighting, they said that they even thought it was on approach. They were like, "Oh yeah, we thought that was a plane on approach," and then it started doing some weird maneuver or something. So there was even some weird maneuvering tied to that. So I just want to call that out, because I don't get a lot of opportunities every now and then to actually give a thumbs up to a photo or video where people are speculating that it could or could not be a UFO, or it could or could not be a conventional aircraft. That one right there is like the epitome. This is the embodiment of what was going on during the drone crisis, if we want to call it that. Is weird shit in the sky that we could not explain.
Yeah, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, according to the New York Post, was shut down December 16th.
Yeah.
So,
And I remember when that happened, and there were multiple reports of things that were blocking.
remember this asshole? What a liar this guy was. This guy was denying everything.
Which one?
The guy, this guy was a government official for Biden.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. He was saying, "Oh, it was nothing. We're closing down Air Force bases, but it's nothing." And then when Trump gets in, I don't necessarily believe this is what happened, but they did say it was something. It was all FAA approved. But why would they shut down an Air Force base due to this activity if this was all FAA approved activity?
And that's not the only airspace that got shut down, right? There was another incident that happened over Langley, with drones, and that's what got a lot of them involved, because Langley is very, very active. And if I'm not mistaken, when we had the Chinese balloon fly over here, over Charlotte, over South Carolina is where I saw it, but it came over parts of the U.S. When we shot that down with F-22s, if I'm not mistaken, those were scrambled from Langley. So Langley is a very important place in protection of the White House and protection of all that. And they even had some drone incursions there where airspace was manipulated. So yeah. So
Well,
I mean,
isn't it coming out now that they were Chinese, according to Coulthard, which would make sense because there's a whole bunch of Air Force bases around that area, and then that was around the same time that the cell phone towers were supposedly hacked. They were telling everyone to use WhatsApp and other things because China had actually hacked cell phone towers supposedly in the Signal app. I think they were saying, because they were saying text messages weren't safe. So was it a coincidence that this was around the time of the drone activity, or was there just lots of stuff happening around that time in the skies of potential bomb sniffing, potential China, potential UAP, potential us responding to it? There was a lot going on. That's the only thing we can say for fact.
yeah, and no, you're absolutely right. That's what Coulthard said. Oh yeah, you're right, Jock. Yeah, it was England.
Three
Actually,
bases,
I think
wasn't it? 3 bases in England, I believe.
I think that's where this all started at, was in England. So yeah, that's a great point. And then it trickled over here because Chris Sharp, over there in UK, like he was covering all that going on over there, and then all of a sudden it trickled over here. Like he was covering something. Chris Sharp was covering something over there in the UK, and then all of a sudden, like it was almost like the COVID spread. It was like something spread over here, and all of a sudden we started seeing the weird shit.
Yeah. And this guy makes a good point too. Why would they fly all this stuff around civilian homes, freak out mayors? I mean, I had a mayor that was dealing with lots of complaints. It's like, why would you alarm your citizens to the point where some of them may have eventually started taking matters into their own hands if that had got any worse? But and then it all mysteriously stopped December 27th, because I was following it, as you said. I was watching everything, and it seemed like on that particular day, everything pretty much stopped as far as the legitimate reports that politicians and stuff were becoming involved with. Some politicians liked the publicity they were getting and tried to drag it out a little bit longer, but it seemed that was the real day when it stopped, and it started around mid-November, at least in that high occurrence.
Yeah, and so why do that? So the question is why fly that? Why fly that material? Well, if you watch the Cold Heart episode on Need to Know, watch the most recent Need to Know. He says it's China. He said China was flying some of their stuff, so we started flying some of our stuff just to put some randomness up there so that we wouldn't think too much of it, us being the public. And he said there might have even been some NHI mixed in there, so take that with what you will. But apparently they were flying stuff, and then we started flying stuff just to kind of throw our hat in the mix and add to the confusion. But what could be going on, because he kind of tied this into the Tic Tac, if the Tic Tac is ours, and there's chatter in the intelligence communities around the world, China, Russia, everybody. If there's chatter that we have something like the Tic Tac that can go from 80,000 feet down to 500 feet and like that, then they might be trying to get us to show our hand, right? And I think that's what Cold Heart was trying to say, is maybe China was over here. It was a provocation act. Hey, let's see if we can get them to show off their goods by going over there and showing off our goods. Now, do I believe that? That's a stretch for me. Because again, if China got shot down over here, but again, think about it. If I'm China and I'm flying a very advanced drone that can fly over here and be launched from the ocean or wherever it was launched from, you're making the calculation that if I fly it over Hannibal's house, are they going to shoot that drone down over Hannibal's house and risk it falling through his ceiling, risk Hannibal pulling out his iPhone or Galaxy device? I don't know what service you have, Hannibal, but filming it and loading it all up here for us to watch? Are we going to risk shooting down a China drone over Hannibal's house? Or are we just going to fly it and say, you know what, the Americans are not going to shoot our drone down over Hannibal's house. They're not going to do it. So let's just do it anyways. Let's fight them. And why would they do that? Maybe they're trying to draw out our tech. Maybe they're trying to see, okay, maybe they'll have to, they can't scramble a jet over Hannibal's house. They can't go scramble a bunch of Blackhawks over Hannibal's house. What? That's going to cause a scene, right? We're already flying a Chinese drone over Hannibal's house. It's got all these lights on it, and it's already weird looking, and Hannibal's already up there on his backyard. He's walking. What was your dog's name, Hannibal?
Piper.
You're out there walking Piper in your backyard. You're already looking at this thing like, what the hell is this thing? They're not going to scramble 15 Blackhawks into your backyard while you're trying to walk Piper. And they're certainly not going to bomb it right over your head. So maybe they made the calculation that China did, that, you know what, if we fly this over residential areas, maybe they'll have to fly something pretty advanced to counteract us. And I think that's where Cold Heart was trying to go with that. I think he's trying to say, look, if they fly something advanced, maybe we'll have to fly something advanced too, and we'll have to show some of our cards. That's the way I took it, but we'll let the guests decide what they think. So.
Yeah, let us know what you guys think it was in the comments. But I mean, I appreciate everyone tuning in and commenting. We may have to have Gene on one day just as a
Oh, we are.
Just as a news commentator, just to mix it up a little bit. But
We will. I've already hit Gene up and asked him.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Well, and let us know in the comments if there's anything you want us to discuss on next week's podcast. I'll let you wrap this up, Casey, and subscribe to our The Hannibal TV UAP channel at The Hannibal TV UFO channel, which is just UFO videos and some extra stuff not on the wrestling channel.
Yeah, and if I get the time for it, I promise. S4 is coming out, so S4 is going to be the Bob Lazar documentary. As we close this one out, I will try to do a catch up for everybody on Lazar. There's a lot of new Lazar videos trickling in. I'm a Lazar researcher. You name it, I probably know about what's going on with Lazar or what he said or videos or claims he's made. Gonna try to catch up a quick one on that. We may even do like a quick little 30-minute segment just as a drop video during the week about just a Lazar episode. But yeah, that's one thing that's coming up. And if there's anything else we're missing or anything else we need to cover, yeah, definitely drop it in the comments because we'll be reading them. So thanks, everybody.
Last thing, you mentioned Age of Disclosure. They're still seeking distribution. No news on that. So thanks a lot, guys.